Today is July 8th. Today's quote is entitled, "Emotional Maturity in Marriage." Emotional maturity is frequently referred to in family textbooks as the most significant psychological index of one's marriageability. Emotional immaturity refers to adults who have not emotionally matured beyond an 11-year-old. Notice if you sometimes respond to difficult situations in the exact way you responded to difficulty as a child. So I was reading a text on the effect, let's start over again. I had written a paper which was a response to a question, what causes divorce? And so I began thinking of various reasons for divorce. And then when I was editing that paper, I thought I would go online and see what the research says. And I came across one text that said the greatest factor, or one of the greatest factors in determining whether a marriage is going to work or not is the emotional maturity level of the spouses. Emotional maturity means your ability to understand your emotions, your ability to feel your emotions, and your ability to deal with your emotions in a positive way, in a way which is healthy, a way which creates healthy relationships. Emotional immaturity would be the opposite, that I'm not either aware of my emotions or I don't know how to manage my emotions. So I could become very angry or very sad or very reclusive or very critical or whatever, and I don't know how to deal with it, and it takes over. And I've seen this, before I read this, I also observed this in marriages because I counsel a lot of devotees who are having difficulty, and oftentimes the difficulty is caused by one or both of the partners not being emotionally mature. And so one of the definitions that I've read of emotional immaturity is that often adults, in some ways, maybe not in all ways, but in some ways, are not emotionally mature beyond what an 11-year-old would be, beyond the emotional maturity of an 11-year-old. So you might be emotionally mature in terms of how you control your anger, but in other ways, in terms, let's say, conversations where people don't agree with you, you may be very emotionally immature. You may not be able to accept that. You may have to be right, or whatever it is. So you could understand that one's lack of ability to manage their emotions can be a huge problem in relationships. And another way it comes out is that I may not like your emotions, that you may be feeling a certain way. And because of how you're feeling, it makes me feel bad. And I can't manage my feelings because your feelings make me feel bad. And then I become mad at you for how you feel, because you make me feel bad because of how you feel. Or I may say something like, you make me mad, or you make me sad, or you make me this, or you make me that. And so I'm not managing my own emotions and I'm blaming my feelings on you. When reality is that you're not responsible for how I feel. I'm responsible for how I feel. One of my god sisters, Arch in the City, gave a very nice definition of forgiveness, and she said forgiveness means to take responsibility for how you feel. So you hurt me, I feel bad, but now what am I going to do? How am I going to process that? How am I going to react to that? Am I going to let that feeling overtake me, or am I going to process it in a way? Am I going to understand why I feel this way? What need am I trying to fulfill? Can I fulfill that need in a better way than being resentful and angry and hateful and spiteful? Of course I can. So that's what emotional maturity means. It means to process our emotions in a way that's healthy, to understand our needs and fulfill them in healthy ways rather than unhealthy ways. To have needs is not wrong. We all have needs, we're humans. We need to eat, we need to live, we need relationships, we need to be able to depend on people, we need to know we're contributing these are normal needs, but sometimes we may try to fulfill them in very immature or unproductive ways. So if you're married, or if you are going to get married, which is probably means I'm talking to most of you who are listening, that if you feel in a sense that you're sometimes managing your emotions in the same way you did when you were young, like you get an argument and you just run in your room and say, I don't want to talk about it, and lock the door and do things like that, or you just go on a tirade when you get angry and you can't stop talking and telling the person how wrong they are till they shrivel into the corner and surrender to you, or you have this intense need to be honored and glorified, and if you don't get it, you become depressed. You want to look at these things and say, am I acting like a little kid? And in some cases, the answer is yes. Even I'm 65 years old, even I'm in charge of a temple, I'm not immune to sometimes acting like a little child when somebody doesn't do what I ask them to do, or they don't behave in a way that fulfills my needs. So we want to look at these things, because in terms of relationships, not just marriage, these are very important qualities to have, to be able to maturely deal with one another and be in control of our responses, so we're not responding in negative ways because we can't control our own emotions.